5 minutes early. I only prepared 45 minutes of stuff. So I guess, and there was, I sent Daniel some pictures. I said, I may not get to these. With the extra 5 minutes, we're going to have to get to them. And I'm just warning you, if you're squeamish, do not look at the screens. So I'm just saying it. So if you want to cut out 5 minutes early, I get it. So tough skin? All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming. I was in here crying earlier, hoping that just one person showed up. So I get real emotional, and I was like, I just hope one shows. And then Jane Albright told me you're all in camouflage, so I won't be able to see who shows up anyways. So it's like an empty room. So, all right. So tonight, I'm going to talk about building your organization and building it large. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about is really just like building leaders. I was in Houston about a week ago, and ChatGPT is like my best friend. Anyone else ever talk to ChatGPT like all day long? Yeah. So you ChatGPTers, just, I was showing them in Houston how valuable having an agent on your team writing business is. Because a lot of times I'll talk to agents and they'll be like, I hate this guy. He's so annoying, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, how much you making overrides this month? And they're like, $1,000. Can you believe that's it? I have to answer their phone calls. They're so annoying. And I was like, you go and take out your ChatGPT and just say, how much is a business worth that makes $1,000 a month residual income valued at? And chat will probably tell you that business is worth $100,000. So when you start looking at that person as a $100,000 organization, all of a sudden that complaining a little bit of, how does this work? Isn't it so bad?
That's
right.
Right?
Just talk to your ChatGPT. He'll tell you the answer, or he or she, whichever one. Mine's a boy, but whichever one yours is. They're really good at writing cards too. Like letters and everything. And if you do the paid for one, it starts learning you, so it starts writing them sounding more and more like you. So, which may be bad in my case because it will start spelling everything wrong and not making sense, So, yeah, if it mimics me, we're in trouble. So, okay, so, Stephen messed up my notes.
Oh, terrible.
Good thing there's only 2 pages. All right, so I'm going to run through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 7 things. These are 7 things I think to grow leaders inside your organization that will help you do it. So if you're taking notes, if you're a note taker, write down these 7 things, and I'm going to go through these 7 things. But first one is recognition. The second one is contribution. The third one is driven. Fourth is delight. I'm going to go back over them. Just use ChatGPT. He writes fast enough. Recognition. Contributions 2. Driven is 3. Delight. That's like Quincy at night. He gets the sprinkled delight ice cream cone or something. Specificity. Repetitive. Don't make me say that one twice, Fitz. And the last one is sandwich. So if you're hungry, I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with the actual food. Specificity. I try to stick to 1-syllable words.
Today.
I don't know. We're going to go all through them all, so we'll figure it out. If you miss one, it's okay. All right. So growing organizations. So the example I talked to you about, if you had like one agent you made $1,000 override on, just imagine if you had an organization that does $500,000 or $100,000 or $200,000, what your override and what that business is through there. And where I see people get caught up is they kill these organizations before they do it. And it's knowing that the trick to being able to develop leaders inside your organization will multiply your income tremendously. So when you're adding agents, and we always say it's like adding like 1, 2, 3, 4. When you start hiring leaders and developing leaders, it's multiplication in your business. I do a lot of football analogies or sports analogies, and if any of you guys are NFL fans, there's one guy most people have heard of, this guy named Bill Belichick. Widely considered probably the best coach of all time in the NFL history. He coached the New England Patriots, Tom Brady, won a bunch of Super Bowls, widely considered a great coach. Now, there's another coach that's not coaching anymore, but was a great coach. He won 2 Super Bowls. He had a 16-year head coaching career. His win-losses, he had 170 wins in his career and 138 losses. Not a great record, but he won 2 Super Bowls. It was a guy named Mike Shanahan. Okay, so the crazy thing when you think of like Bill Belichick that someone thinks is the best coach of all time, and someone is like Mike Shanahan, which unless you're really like a football fan, you probably don't even know who Mike Shanahan is, okay? His son is the coach of the 49ers, if that helps you, but that's probably how anyone knows him today. But the crazy thing with Mike Shanahan is he's probably the best NFL coach ever in developing leaders. And I had this printed off. It's not the best quality, but this is his coaching tree currently in the NFL. If anyone has seen Bill Belichick's coaching tree in the NFL, it is this side. So currently in the NFL, he's had 13 guys that worked under his coaching tree that have been NFL head coaches, 11 currently. What is there, 32 teams in the NFL? 11 current coaches came from him, head coaches. And he currently has 10 offensive coordinators in the NFL current. Who's leaving a bigger legacy in the NFL?
Again.
In this business, you can be a Bill Belichick or you can be a Mike Shanahan. I'm trying to be a Mike Shanahan. I will tell you, you'll make a whole lot more money being Mike Shanahan. Now, Mike Shanahan doesn't get an override off those coaches as far as I know, so not good for him. He picked the wrong business to be in. But if he would have gotten business with us, he would be crushing it. Crushing it. So there's no more important thing in your business in developing the leaders that you have. It is the most valuable thing that you can do if you're trying to build a team and the things that you want to do. So number one, if you want to start building leaders inside your organization, you need to become the version worth copying. When I started, I was not the version worth copying. I had to develop into the things that I wanted to do, that I wanted my team to represent, the things I want them to do. So you know you have to get better. Now, when you're recruiting large numbers, you can get lucky and find a leader that develops or a leader that's further along than you, but you're going to get lucky. And they're not going to be. They'll be smarter, and they'll be smart enough to know not to listen to you, which is okay. You still get overrides off of it. Don't screw it up. But it's all luck. If you want to develop people like Mike Shanahan did, you need to become the great version that you want to be. Now, like I said, Mike Shanahan wasn't Bill Belichick, but he won 2 Super Bowls. So he wasn't a bad coach. Now, he had John Elway as a quarterback. That was like a good guy on his team. I hated both of them. I'm a Steelers fan. I hate both of them, but I get it. I get what he did. As a great leader, you don't want to be needed. You want to be succeeded.
That's it.
So a lot of leaders want to be like, you need me. I got to teach you this. You got to teach you this. I'm always trying to replace myself. I was talking to Olga Mathis a couple months ago. She was doing a boot camp in Houston, and she's like, Andy, I've been doing the in-home presentation training. I want to go on to something else. I was like, well, then move to, and you start doing this part of this. And she's like, what's my game plan after I do that in a bunch of boot camps? What's the next thing? I was like, the next thing is you go to the boot camp and you do nothing. You just watch. And you have all your team teaching the boot camp. She goes, what's after that? I was like, next thing after that is you have 10 boot camps going on every single weekend, and you're not attending any of them. Mike Shanahan, 11 head coaches. He can only attend one of them every Sunday. 10 more are still playing. If he got an override off that, not a bad gig. So you definitely want to be, you're basically trying to replace yourself, so you're trying to be succeeded. You're trying to get people to take over. Jason and Olga Mathis in my organization are great people in the sense that I do very little for them. And it's not because I don't want to, they just don't need me. They've developed in an aspect. Terry and Tia Edwards don't need me. There was a time they did, but they've worked out of it. Now, they still call me, we still work together, we still do things, but not as much as early on, because they developed themselves in where they can do their own stuff. Currently, right now in our organization, we have 28 agency managers, 3 board members. So we're trying to build that Mike Shanahan culture, okay? We're trying to build what he does. So how do you move people? How do you get people to move? I don't know if you guys have ever heard this. This is not an Andy Riddle original. I actually heard it from Tony Robbins, but I don't think he even came up with it either. But it's the 6 needs to move people. Yeah. And this works with everyone. So if you're trying to get your kids to move or your team to move or someone to move, these are the 6 needs that every person needs to move. Now, out of these needs, 2 are usually dominant, and in certain situations, they can change. So it's tricky, but it's knowing these 6 needs to move people. 1 is certainty. So they have to be certain of what's going to happen. The second one is uncertainty. The third one is recognition. The fourth one is love. The fifth one is growth. And the sixth one is contribution. Now, for the sakes of this, and this is like a business talk, the 2 biggest ones to move people in business are typically recognition and contribution. People want to be recognized, and people want to be, contributions. They want to give back. They want to be known for something. So those are the 2 main dominant ones to move people. So when you're thinking about your team, are you recognizing your team? It's always been a hard thing for me because I've always been the guy, like, if I recognize them, they'll slow down. If I recognize this, they'll slow down. Sometimes it's true. Don't get me wrong, it's true. But what you have to get really good at is recognizing the habits that you want them to do and the habits you don't want them to. It's kind of like, It's like no attention to it whatsoever. So if they're acting up and acting stupid, that's just them being stupid. I don't say it out loud, that's what I'm thinking. That's just them being stupid. But when they do something good or they do something that I want them to do, I recognize the heck out of it. People will do anything for recognition. So you need to recognize like crazy the good habits that they do. The better you get at recognizing the good habits, the more often they're going to do good things. So don't not recognize good things thinking they're going to slow down. It's just stop paying attention to the bad things and just be like, almost like you didn't see it, and ignore it. Now, don't worry. If the bad stuff's too much, we're going to address it later in one of these things. So there's a way to address it too, but right now it's the recognition. Contribution, like people like to give back. There's a sock company called Bombas. Like every sock you buy, they donate one. Good stuff. See, you probably buy their socks because they give back. You know what I mean? They probably sell socks because they're like, oh, that's a good company. They give back. You know what I mean? It's like every policy you write, Lou, I'm going to give $1 to saving whales, and if that gets you to write more policies, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I'll give $1 for every policy you write for whales. It's the contribution. People like to have a contribution, contribute to something. So just know that's how you move people in business. And when you know how to move people, it's a sense of you're trying to move them further along in their careers, and it's kind of like tricking them, but it's tricking them to hit what they want to do or to achieve what they want to achieve. So that would be your recognition and contribution one. So those were the first 2 I read off. The third one is competitive. Well, I said driven, but competitive. Leaders that, in my organization, like Noelle's sitting right here where I can see her, and but it's like we always talk trash back and forth, but we have this friendly competition with the Leventovich team, and we go back and forth, but I know Mike and Noelle feel the same way. They want competition in their organization. As in my team, I want competition. It's not even so much for me, Mike, and Noelle to be like talking trash, we're kind of looking to see how our guys react to the trash talk. And we're like, which ones are going to step up and do something? We're just probably having a game with each other, and we're just seeing, hey, did anyone react? This is a belief that I have, is finding people that are willing to compete is the easiest way for them to separate themselves as a potential leader. I really don't know of anyone that doesn't like to compete that really is considered a leader. If you can't be competitive, it's hard to lead. And you say, well, I'm not a competitive person. I'd say I'd find something to be competitive about if you want to be a leader. It is really hard to lead groups of people if you're not competitive. If you're not chasing something or trying to win something, it's hard to get them to follow. Leaders that compete, if you want to foster like a team of competitiveness, or they want to compete, it's the same thing. You need to recognize it when they get competitive and go do something. You got to recognize that as a good trait, because recognizing winners will move your people. Just as the other thing, if people don't compete, it kind of shows you they're just not a leader. It is the easiest way to figure it out. People say, how do you know if someone's a leader? Challenge them, see if they're willing to compete. See if they're willing to step up for something. See if they're willing to fight for something bigger than themselves. If it's all about them, it's only going to get so big for them. The second it's only about you, it could be a huge dream. You're limiting how big it could be. So see if someone's going to compete. I love to compete. I honestly don't know anything in my life I don't really compete with. Ange, do you know anything I don't care to compete with? Yeah, it's boxing. Brian was me and Brian were going to do a boxing match, and I'm so competitive he just didn't show up. Yeah. Cash flow. Yeah, cash flow. I'll talk some trash and cash. That's pretty much any board game, Fred. I'll talk trash in. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's the ultimate identifier of who's going to lead. I can't think of a different trait that you'd want inside of a leader that I've ever seen. So, being competitive is another one. Drive and delight. Great leaders model those two things. Think about it, if you just do love and no discipline with the people, you guys have kids, if you just give your kids love and no discipline, think about how they're going to turn out. And in reverse, you give them no love and only discipline, what they're going to do. Both ways they will act out. So it's that marriage with the drive and delight, it's that marriage of how do you give them love and discipline, and when to apply one, when not to apply the other one, and knowing what that juggling act is. Great leaders know how to balance these things. The stronger you are, the stronger your relationship is with the individual, the easier it is to balance. So I think in this business, if you're not going to visit your agents and build a relationship, it's very difficult. If you don't build a relationship, it's too hard. If you don't go out there and build the friendship first, the first time something bad happens that you have to discipline them on, or something that you need to love them on, they don't really care. You can't balance those without having the relationship built. So I definitely recommend, if you're trying to build leaders in this business, you need to go see them. The example I teach my guys a lot is when me and Angela started dating, she lived in California, I lived in Florida. Okay, so when we were dating, if I called her at night, she was happy. But if I FaceTimed her, she was even more happy. Okay? If I sent her a text message, she wasn't real happy, but that was better than not text messaging her. If I flew her to Florida to see me, she was happy. But the ultimate was when I flew to California to see her. The same will be when you're trying to build a relationship with your team. If you're just text messaging them, it's not going to go very far. If you're only calling them on the phone, it'll go a little bit further. If you're FaceTiming them, will help a little bit more, or Zoom. If you're even having them come see you, that's good, but it's not as good, not even close to as good as you going to see them. And the more you go see them, the stronger it's going to build that relationship. And the stronger that relationship is, the easier it is to balance the love and the discipline. So travel to your teams. In my notes, I have that ChatGPT thing I started off with. Just imagine, any of you guys getting overrides right now? Like anyone in the room getting overrides? Like, do you mind sharing like what an override would be off one of your organizations? Yeah. What?
Their whole plan.
On one organization? Yeah. Do you have ChatGPT on your phone? Anyone have it? Ask ChatGPT what $2,000 a month residual income would be. What would be the value of that business? It gives you the calculation. That's the thing I don't like about chat. Teaches you too. And I'm like, I don't want to be taught. I just want the answer.
He's pointing out 72,000 and 96.
Between $72,000 and $96,000. So the next time they call and bitch and complain to you, you're just like, that's a $96,000 organization. I ain't screwing that up. Right? Changes it. It's not that $2,000 is bad, but I'm just saying it changes it. It's like, I don't care. It's only $2,000. They can go, blah, blah, blah. They can quit for all I care. It's like, no, it's a $96,000 organization. Yeah, maybe they shouldn't quit. Maybe they should stick around for a little long. Maybe I'll go kiss and make up. You know what I mean? Oops, I shouldn't have said that. My fault. Totally different perspective. Totally different. They can say a lot of stupid stuff. They can say a lot of stupid stuff when you start figuring out what that business is valued at. So that's the drive and delight. It's the disciplined of your business and discipline in people doing wrong things. The easiest way to get past it in a relationship is almost ignoring it and just recognizing the good things. And when that doesn't work, then you have to get to the discipline part. And it's just pulling. You try not to. You compliment in groups. You correct privately. So pull them aside, pull them in. Say, hey, when you do this, it reflects very bad for the team. I need you to stop. If you do it in a group, if you did that, I don't know, that we'll just call your $2,000 leg. If you did it in a group, they're not coming back next week. But if you do it privately and there's a relationship there, it's usually, a lot of times when I've done it privately with people that I've talked to and said, you need to do this, or you need to change this, and you do it privately, they'll just change. They'll be like, I didn't even realize that was causing an issue. When you do it privately. When you do it in a group, it does not work well. The guy that brought me into this business was the king at doing it in a group. But I wasn't talking about you. One time he went off on a guy for wearing jeans into his office. And the guy's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. He's like, I wasn't talking about you. And I'm like, he's the only guy in jeans. You can't play that card when he's the only one in jeans. It's like someone had a hat on once, like a top hat, he was dressed in a three-piece suit with a hat on, and he went on about how disrespectful, how you wear a hat into my meetings. And I'm like, dude, it looks 100 times better than you do. 100 times. It's like, oh, God. Whew. Yeah. It never worked out well for him either. He was the king at when Stephen was talking about when we came out and we're growing really fast, a lot of people were like, hey, Mark, come do, I shouldn't have said his name, but hey, come do a meeting for us. And then he would go do a meeting and that whole team would quit and they'd be like, Andy, don't ever let him come back here again. True story, right, Fitz? He was the king. If you wanted a cleaning of your team, he'd bring Mark in. Yeah, I mean, he could clean it out quick. He doesn't even need the whole hot spot. It'll be like midway through, the room's gone. He was good at it because he corrected publicly, and they would run away. So, all right, the word I can't say, specificity. Be specific. Yeah, there we go. We'll shorten it up. I'm big on nicknames anyways. I better use this chair. They gave me a chair. I've never been given a chair before in a meeting. I better use it. Oh, all right. What's my notes say? Inspect what you expect. Inspect what you expect. So if I expect Lou to write $10,000 this week, I need to inspect what I expect. Like, am I looking at what he does? If you go on NA University, and let's just say all you guys, everyone in here got here and you were the first 130 to get into this room, so I'm sure all you guys are perfect. And you do your in-home presentation just like how it's done at NA University, word for word, the exact same way. So I trust that all you guys are, well, you guys were the first ones here. So you're like, I'm not talking about you guys, but the best person in your group, I bet you if you have them do an in-home on you, you will not recognize it. So when you like, I don't understand why so-and-so can't make a sale. Have you inspected what they do? I'm telling you right now, some of my top guys are in the other room. If I had them do an in-home right here, right now with us, I'm not saying it wouldn't be good, but I would not recognize it. I'd be like, where'd you learn that? You know. And I'm just telling you, if you're one of those people and that's you, if you want a big organization, you're keeping it small. And I don't care if you're writing $40,000 a month. If that is you, you are keeping your organization small. Because if you hire someone in Houston, and I go to Houston and do a hotspot, and I teach on the in-home presentation, and I teach your brand new person in Houston what I teach is off the NA University, but they've only learned your special creative way how to do the in-home, they are confused and they're going to move slower. And here's what happened. If you're that passionate about yours being better, call Clay Murtis up, call Robbie Kraft up and say, hey, we should change this and be passionate about it and give them reasons and examples of why they should change that in the ATM. And then we'll all teach that ATM. But when the ATM changes, I'll teach that, like your version. But until it's that good, I'm not teaching that version. And you're going to have a small business and you're going to be like, but when they go to Andy Riddle's hotspot, they get confused because he teaches the stuff that's on NA University and I teach something else. You're going to have a small business. You're very limiting your business. So get really specific on what you're doing and fight. Like I'll tell you, there's guys on my team that have changed things up, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but they're wrong. And it's not because my way is right. I just know it's not part of what we teach in the NA University. And I'm like, and I tell them all the time, I was like, if you're going to be, you can fight with me all you want. You can give me all the examples that you want. Fight with the person that can change the ATM if you're that passionate about it. If you can get Andy to change the ATM, I'm aboard. If you can't get him to change it, you're just going to have a small business. It's confusing as heck. So you got to be specific to what you're doing. But practice. I think Nick Saban said this, what they do when he coached at Alabama, which is arguably the best college football team for the period of time that he was there. And you could say, I hate Alabama. I don't really know anything. But his philosophy was practice it until you can't get it wrong. So are you practicing or teaching your guys to practice stuff till they can't get it wrong? I think I'm very specific when I talk to people, and then my wife does something completely different, and I'm like, I guess I wasn't that specific, you know. Like I just did 3 ultra mountain marathons in 3 days, and I have these blisters on my feet. Don't put them up there, Daniel. Don't put them up. Not yet. And I had run out of Band-Aids to put over all my wounds on my feet after, I think, the first marathon. And I told her, I was like, I got these 2 sizes Band-Aids, this one and this one. I want a box of this one. And I got a box of ones like that big. not either of the options. It did end up working out better because my blisters grew about 5 times bigger, but it was not what I asked for. And I'm like, Lou, I was like, how was I not specific? I gave her examples of what I wanted. Like, here's one, take it with you. You know what I mean? But it was like, where is my communication, not there. So one way when you're working with your team and you're trying to develop people and trying to help them, when you're coaching them, always have them say back to you what they heard. You will be interested in some of the answers. Whew. Very interested. And in addition to that, when you have someone you've been working with for years, just because they've known it in the past doesn't mean they do it and know it today. So you could have someone that you've told that was your example of this. For me, you could have been my example for phone script for 10 years in my business. And then I haven't been inspecting it, watching you, and all of a sudden your phone script changes and you're not my example, but I haven't looked. You gotta pay attention because they may change. So you gotta watch things and know, and just because they've done it before, they do it. But the best leaders are very specific and they're very repetitive. So they will repeat things over and over. A poor leader wears out on being repetitive. A great leader never wears out on being repetitive. When I talk to guys in my group that are trying to become leaders or trying to build teams, when I start seeing them get weary on saying the same thing over and over again, I kind of know they're probably going to struggle. And not struggle in this business, they're just going to struggle building a huge team. Because I've hung around Andy for 17 years, and I've never really heard him say things that he didn't teach me 17 years ago that he doesn't tell me today. It is repetitive. I've heard all his jokes. I've heard all his things thousands of times. And trust me, sometimes they hit me like, I haven't done that one in 15 years. Being very specific. So I remember when I started seeing Andy's socks, I was like, I need to start wearing those socks because I don't want to go all the way through life and not be where he's at. And then the reason I said Andy at the end, I was like, why didn't I make it like you did? And he's like, you never didn't wear my socks. So I was like, I got to wear socks. I was teaching someone the other day, Brian Adams says, a rising tides raise all boats. And the first time I was around Brian Adams, I'm like, no, it's ships. I didn't say it to Brian. In my head, I didn't correct him, but I was like, it's not boats, Brian, it's ships. And then the second time I heard him say it, I was like, he's saying boats again. Someone need to correct that guy and tell him it's ships. And the third time I heard him say it, I was like, it's boats. Rising tide raises all boats. No ships, it's boats. It takes me usually 3 times and then I get it. You know what I mean? Repetitive. But Brian was repetitive on that boat rising thing, not the ship rising thing, so it's boats. So if you say rising tides raises all ships, Brian Adams, boats. I want to be like him. It's boats. Switched. Boats. You can say ships, but I'm going to say boats. So just knowing what you're looking for, knowing what you're going to do in your business, using less words is always good. The less words you can, the more specific you really are. Let me give you an example of this. If you're showing a plan, if you ever heard Andy trying to recruit someone, he's like, hey, Noel, it's Andy Albright down here in North Carolina. Hey, Alex Abian gave me your number. Thought you may be interested in making some extra money on the side. Does that sound like you? Yes. Okay, great. Hey, just real quick, we're working with some big insurance companies in the financial services, like Mutual of Omaha. You ever hear of them? Yes. Great. Well, we're working with them, and we have this lead system where it gives us clients looking for this stuff, and every time you go out there and help someone get protected with it, you make $500. That sound like something you want to do?
Yes.
Very specific, very quick, very short. Now, if I've heard other people explain those 3 same things and take 35 minutes to do so, which person understands better what we do, the one that said the short version or the 35-minute version that wants to tell them everything that they do?
North.
Less words will be more specific. So try to figure out how you can do less words. When you're saying less words, you're actually saying more. and you're getting more out of them. So always be trying to do it. The fifth thing is sandwich. So if you guys were hungry, sorry, there's no sandwiches. But this is a technique that I use to really try to help people and correct people and not hurt the relationship. So the sandwiches, I'm a big Oreo cookie fan. Anyone else like Oreos? Yeah, they're good. Haven't had one in a while, but you ever have that ice cream where they mash them up in the ice cream? Oh, God. Yeah. Then Quincy puts it on a sandwich for me or something, nice cookie sandwich, wherever he is. So, yeah, so the sandwich technique, so the cookie part, the chocolate part is the compliment or tell them something nice or brag on them. So I talk about Brian. Brian, your team did so good last month. You guys did just at 100,000. Man, that might be your best month ever. I'm so proud of what you guys are doing and building over there. Da-da-da. Boost them up. And then the filling part, which is actually my favorite part, but this is the mean part. Then you tell him like how he can get better. Course correct him with whatever he's not doing well. And then go right back to boosting him up and how you believe into him. That's the sandwich, the correction part of sandwich stuff. So poor leaders, when they correct people, will lower their confidence to get their point across. So great leaders will get their point across and increase their confidence. So when you're trying to do corrections, how can you correct someone, get them better, but not hurt their confidence in what they're doing? When you lower, if I correct Brian, but I lower his confidence down, he's actually in a worse spot than he was when he was doing it wrong. You have to come up with creative ways how you can get the correction through. The sandwich is the way I do it. You give him the sandwich, but when you're done with the conversation, he's corrected and his confidence is higher than it was when the conversation started. The guy that brought me in, the guy that would clear out your room, he was the king. He had to make your confidence get all the way into the basement before he did the correction. And the correction was great, but it never got you back to where you were. You want to be able to correct people, but take their confidence level higher from where it was before the correction happened. It's a very challenging thing, but the better you get at doing it, the faster your business will grow, the faster your leaders will develop. It's a way to change. This is just throwing me off. They sent us like a template to put our notes on with examples, and I don't think I deleted all the notes because I was like, why does it say my name in here? So I was like, I don't put my name in my own talk, you know what I mean? So, but you want to get good at where you can do the course correction and raise their confidence through the correction from there. And then the last thing, this wasn't one of the things I told you to write down, getting good at doing hard stuff. I was talking to someone the other day, and me and Fitz have had this conversation before, but I love so many of the technology things, like different things that Andy's helped us have in addition to grow the business, like the 8 Steps book. Great book. You get to hear it from Andy's voice of how he feels the 8 steps are. I think we taught the 8 steps better before the book existed.
Yeah.
Because it's easy when Lou starts with me, I was just like, hey, read this book. And I never teach him the 8 steps or tell him the importance of it or push it through there. The ARC, with all the great things Robbie crafted. I've been working on a couple reports for my team I've been looking at, and I was like, I know my business better now that I'm creating this on my own report than just clicking on the ARC and being able to see the report like that. And it's like the simplicities and the advancements that they do is to help us grow our businesses faster, but I have taken advantage of the thoughts behind those and made my business weaker. It's weird. When I think about it, it makes no sense. It's like, wait, I can just see a report, but if I do it, I know it better and it helps my business. To me, it doesn't make sense. And it's like, here's a book, how Andy says it, but yet we weaken it by just handing them a book instead of just teaching them. Because when I started, we had the 8 steps, we just didn't have a book. So it was like 8 steps, 8 steps, 8 steps. And it's knowing the stuff of doing things. So doing hard stuff, I'm a big believer, the more hard stuff you're able to do, the bigger your business is going to get. it was really nice how Stephen introduced me and talked about how I don't flinch. I think I flinch a lot. It's just I don't show you guys me flinching. But it's the way you get good at dealing with stuff is almost welcome hard stuff. The more you welcome it, I always look at when something bad's happening or something hard's happening, it's kind of like God saying great things are coming. I do a lot of these, I've gotten into the last couple of years, these like ultra marathons, mountain climbing, stupid adventure things. The guy that runs them, he was the last one I just did in Lake Tahoe. I was out there with Marvin's guys trying to get them all to quit, and none of them did. I was surprised. I tried that old school stuff on them, and but then I went and did 3 mountain ultra marathons in 3 days. And when we got done, there was a guy that runs the company. He's a billionaire. His wife owns a company called Spanx. So if you ever heard of Spanx, that's his wife. And he was telling a story. He's like, I was telling my mom about what we're doing and what this event was. And his mom said to him, he's like, that can't be good for your body. You shouldn't do that. That cannot be good for you. And he goes, I talked her out of it saying it was good for you. You know, running 3 marathons can't be bad for you. 3 ultra marathons in 3 days, it can't be bad for you. He's like, but I'm selling her why I can't. He goes, now standing here 3 days later, she's probably right. This was not good for us. I haven't told Angela this, but this part of my leg right here, you ever have like when the muscle falls asleep and the tingling? I've had it for 10 days. Hasn't gone away. Yeah, you can punch me right here. I will be like, whoa, nothing happened right there. I've not felt this part of my leg in 10 days. It's kind of weird. Yeah, you can try it. Just no feeling, just a tingling feeling. At some point, it's got to come back, right? In theory, right? You would think so. So it's probably not the best thing to do for you. And this is what he was saying in the thing. What we did was probably not the best thing for us physically. But it was probably the best thing we could have done for our souls. Because the stuff that it makes you, can you put those pictures up? If you're squeamish, don't look at the TVs. All right, that was one toe. Can you go to the next one? That's the other toe. And the next one? That's the inside of the other toe. I still had a marathon to go.
So on TV.
Anything?
I had another marathon to go. Someone was commenting on my nails, and I was like, dude, I didn't have a pedicure for 4 months because I had to build up calluses for this thing. We did 90 miles in 3 days. I wanted all those calluses I could get. I didn't need to have, like, pretty feet, you know? But so the point of that is doing hard things in your business. It may not be great for you in that moment. It may not be great for your sleep schedule. I wear this thing called a Whoop, and it tracks how my sleep is. You know what I mean? And it's like if I stay up late working really hard and I don't get a full, 6 hours, 7 hours sleep, it's going to say you have bad recovery. Don't worry, you're going to live. Okay? I'm just telling you, you're going to live. If you work really hard in this business, you travel a lot, you're going to live. It's going to be good for your soul. It may not be the best thing for you. I remember driving home from Tampa, falling asleep in the car. It's not safe, I agree. But it was good for my soul. I didn't die. No, I haven't felt my leg in 10 days. Well, I feel the lower part, just the upper part of my leg. So it's doing hard things. I'm telling you, they'll be good for your soul. And when other things happen to you, you're going to be like, it wasn't that big of a deal. Wasn't that big of a deal. The huge blister, my nephew, we went to his house afterwards, and he stepped on my foot, and it blew up right there. I was just like, hey, Ann, she's like, what? And I was like, can you get a towel? There's stuff all over the floor. Yeah. Just didn't move. Just like, all right, no big deal. Blew up. The other one, when we did that Houston hotspot, Michelle, blew up while I was up there talking to my shoe. I felt it. The third one was when I put a flip-flop on. The one that was on the inside of the toe was like flip-flop. I was like, oh, there goes that. We got them all taken care of now. We're good. But it's being able to handle stuff. You're going to have blisters in your business. You're going to have the blisters pop in your business. You're going to have it. How you react to that is going to be there. So the better you get at handling hard stuff, I'm just telling you, if you're going to try to build leaders in this business, you're going to have bad stuff come. It's coming. Honestly, if you don't even try to build this business, you have bad stuff coming in your life. And the better you get at handling bad stuff, the easier it is. I'm telling you, 17 years ago when I started this business, if I had 3 blisters like that on my feet, I would have convinced myself it's not safe to walk. It's not safe to leave the house. It's, Marcus, God's telling me I can't go out of the house. I got blisters. You got to wheel me around. You know, you can sell yourself whatever you want to have happen, but I'm telling you, it happens. I was talking, my chiropractor was asking me when he was adjusting me the other day, he's like, what's it feel like when you're like doing that kind of stuff? And I was like, oh, it sucks, like all of it. And he's like, when's it suck? I was like, out of 90 miles, like 88 of it. You know what I mean? Like, and he's like, what do you go through? I was like, oh, you go through, why am I doing this? I shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to quit. The reason I didn't quit is because I'm in the forest and I don't know where I'm at. You know, it's like there was bear poop on the trail. I'm like, this can't be good. And I can't see anyone in front of me or behind me. There was one section, I was walking by a lake and I heard something go running like parallel with me. And I'm like, time to pick up pace. And this was about 80 miles in and my legs were shot. And I was like, I'm going to figure out how to run right now. Because there's no one around me and except whatever that was. It's nuts. It's stupid. But it's knowing when you go through those things and when you're going through that stuff. I was telling my chiropractor, he's like, your body wants you to quit. And in this business, your mind it's going to be telling you it's too hard, give up on yourself, give up on this, don't do that, don't make that trip. This could be bad for you. I remember I went to do a meeting down in Tampa, and I had 102 temperature, and I didn't tell anyone there. I just stayed away from them, but I did the meeting, and then I went home, and I was just like, they don't need to know. I just said I was going to be there, I got to be there. And someone said, that's not good for you. I was like, not good for my body, good for my soul. That's what I just tell myself. But when I'm doing these things and I'm going through this pain and everything, I told my chiropractor, at some point when you go through this bad crap, and it's usually shortly after that you're like, gonna quit. Like when you are done and you're gonna quit and you push through that, when you think right now, if I did something to you to make you quit right now, but then taught you how to get through just that one moment, your body submits and stops hurting. And it's the same thing in this business. When you get to that wall or you get to that thing and be like, I'm done. They've made me mad one last time, or Andy said this and I'm not doing that ever again, blah, blah. When you get that one thought and you figure out how to push through that one thing, your body and your mind are like, this SOB is not stopping, and it goes away. It's getting yourself good at pushing through that one stop, that one step, that one more thing. When you get good at pushing through that, start looking at the stuff that you've quit. Start looking at the things that you've recently quit. If you set out to lose weight, if you set out to do 75 hard or whatever, what caused you to quit? And once you master what that is, that's one of the things I love about if you don't know 75 hard, I don't make any money off of it. I don't care if you do it. But a bunch of people do it and a bunch of people quit. But if they can figure out what made them quit and how to trick themselves not to do that again, that's the same thing they quit on everything in their life. Everything in their life. And they sell themselves on why they stop. And if you can figure out that hack to trick yourself not to quit there, it gets so much easier. Just think back, self-reflect back to what the last couple things that you've quit on and figure out what did that, and get with a mentor or someone that's accomplished more in life and say, this is what happened. I don't know why it happened, but I quit, and come up with a hack next time, because that's coming back. That exact same thing's gonna roar back into your life when something important happens, and it's gonna gonna take you out again, and it's gonna take you out again. And those people are like, it just didn't work for me. I wish it worked like it did for Marcus, but it didn't work for me. Marcus has figured out the hack. You got to figure out the one thing that's going to trigger you not to quit next time. The one thing you're going to push through to do it. And once you push through it, most people think it's going to get worse. And I promise you, it gets better. It doesn't even get better. It goes away. I'm telling you, when my body was dead and I pushed through it, it felt fine. My best feeling day was the third marathon. The first marathon, I thought I was going to die. I was like, I don't even know if I can get out of bed tomorrow, let alone do a marathon.